Hello, welcome to Brimwood Farm live stream on a Saturday night. We're going to kick things off as normal. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the week's updates, and then we'll go on to the regular chat session. But first, I have some really positive news, some really great news, and then I have a bit of a bummer and some down news. So let's start with the good news. The good news is, and I have my celebratory cup of tea with me, we hit 1,000 subscribers. I am so happy. Thank you so much for subscribing, commenting, sharing, and just joining this community. I think we're building a really nice little community of gardeners and allotmenters and chicken keepers, and it's just, I can't believe I got 1,000. Isn't that amazing? I've been at this 18 months and it's just thrilling to bring together people and share videos and just have this wonderful little YouTube channel that I've got. There's several reasons for the YouTube. The first is the fact that I want to share my story. You know, I'm a complete dreaming farmer, and at the moment I'm in a 3-bedroom terrace house with just about 45. Out there is literally like 45 square meter garden. That's all I've got. So yeah, so the first reason for this YouTube channel really is to share that story with you and just kind of share the journey from hopefully this house all the way to the future farm and the small holding, and growing from having chickens and chicks up to, you know, cattle. So that's the number one reason why I share this. The second reason for the channel is motivation. You know, I'm actually quite a lazy person. You know, when I say Netflix and chill, I literally mean lying on the couch watching Netflix for 12 hours. And I think I've touched on mental health issues in the past a little bit. So it's easy not to get stuff done. And I find that having a YouTube channel is a great way of getting stuff done, because I have the structure of the videos, and throughout the week I want to film stuff, I want to get stuff going, and that makes me get up and do stuff. So that's the second reason for the YouTube channel. And the third reason is, obviously, when you watch videos and you'll see little pop-up ads and stuff, so I get a tiny proportion of money, like I'm talking cents here, like 1 cent, for producing YouTube videos. And so that money is all going into a separate pot towards the future farm and small holding. So that's really exciting too. So that's why I'm building this channel, and I'm super happy that I've got 1,000 subscribers. It's completely amazing. I can't believe it. So that is my positive, good news of the week. Really great news, and that's why I've got my celebratory cup of tea with frog in it. Now for the slightly bad news. So today, like keeping livestock is a roller coaster, complete and utter roller coaster. And as soon as you hit that peak and you think everything is going marvellously, meow. So today I was looking around my flock, and I'm not getting many eggs because a lot of the girls are in a molt at the moment. And because although it's autumn, it feels like autumn, it's August, but it feels like October. And so a lot of the girls have started molting, and I was looking around the coop and I noticed one of the hens in the back corner with a sort of a lump just under her beak. So I grabbed her and I looked, and it was kind of this yellow fleshy thing inside her mouth. And I thought, well, this is not great. So I was thinking a tumour. So I was thinking, oh God, this is really not great. So I did a little bit of research, and I found out that it was canker. And so I thought, oh great, you know, she hasn't got a tumour, she's got canker. This is great. It's actually really bad. If she'd had a tumour, it would have been an isolated case just on her. The fact that she has got canker is really, well, she hasn't got canker anymore because I actually culled her. But it's actually a bad omen, because canker is one of the most difficult things to cure in a flock. And often, even with meds, if you can get a chicken through it, they will still be carrying it and they can pass it on. And what it does is create lesions inside the digestive tract and the throat and the mouth. And they can just, I've been speaking to a friend today about it, and she just said it's awful, and they can just go towards this horrible death. So it's best as soon as you see it, to cull it. Now, where did it come from? I'm pretty much My dog is just gagging on the couch. I'm pretty much convinced that it came from our local pigeons. Having researched it, about 80% of pigeons have canker. Now, they are robust and they can have it and get ill and then get through it. But with chickens, it really takes its toll. And you just have this situation where your hens just won't get better and they'll just get these lesions, they'll stop laying, and it's just nasty. So sadly, Brienne of Tarth got cold. And now I'm kind of in this nervous state about who might get it next. I have disinfected the water, I've disinfected all of the feeders because it actually transmits through saliva or through bodily fluids. So if a cockerel was mating with her, which I've just realised Skeksis might have been mating with her, although he's not brilliant as a boy, so he might not have been, so he might be safe. But it passes that way, so I'm going to be basically looking over my flock over the coming weeks for signs of these lesions. And sadly, as soon as these lesions appear, I'm going to have to cull. And I'm really gutted because there are some lovely birds in that flock. If you saw Chicken Check-In, the one that I did, my Chicken Check-In, Monkey, my Chamois Poland, is in that flock. So I'm nervous. Barry and his girls, the Ixworth and my Danvers, are all separate. They're all in separate coops. And actually they're in smaller coops, so they don't free range as much. And actually that has been a godsend for them because they then don't get this infiltration of wild birds and stuff into their runs, which can then infect them. Whereas the laying flock are pretty much free range in their bottom poultry yard, and it's not netted in, and there's a big old yew tree there, which I know pigeons and doves roost in, and I think that's been the cause of the problem. So I'm nervous, understandably so, because I really don't want to... I don't want to lose my birds because I love them, and some of those were the first chicks I ever hatched. Monkey and Clumsy, my two Poland hens, are the first chicks I ever hatched. So I'll be gutted to lose them if they develop this canker. And B, I've got egg customers waiting and there's no eggs because they're molting, and then if I end up having to cull more and more hens from my flock. So it's a bad situation, but I had an outbreak of a disease last year. It was a respiratory and I completely lost it, and it sent me in a complete downhill spiral of depression. This time I'm just trying to be more level and just be realistic. The worst that will happen, the entire flock of 30 birds will catch it and I'll have to cull everything. But the others are safe. The rare breeds and the silkies and stuff are safe. The best situation, only Brienne of Tarth had it, and only maybe a couple more hens get it, which I think is a more likely situation. Maybe a couple more hens that will have picked it up from the water source. So that's the downer. Up, good news is 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Bad news, we have a little bit of a canker outbreak. Now, I've never come across this disease before either, so I don't know how it's going to play out. And that's the other thing, learning from experience. When you come across these diseases for the first time, it's always horrendously scary. But actually, when it happens again in the future, it's easier to handle because you've been there, done that. So, updates from the week. Well, actually, if you saw Monday Magic, you will know there was a wonderful update because Barry's babies hatched. So we had 9 eggs, we had 5 hatch out, we had 2 actually die in the shell, and then we had 2 die around 18-19 days. They hadn't absorbed the yolk properly, but we have 5 really, really healthy chicks, which is really, really great. Now, I did get my new thermometer in on Wednesday, and I don't know what happened, but both of the thermometers that I had, which worked perfectly in the previous hatch, they were both off. So that means the chicks were actually incubated through the entire incubation, so 17 days for the quail, 21 days for the chicks, at 2 degrees lower than normal. So that results in the later hatch, but it also means that chicks tend to die in the shell at that stage because they're not far enough along to absorb that yolk and then pip and get out. So that's why. So I now have another 27 quail eggs in the incubator with the correct temperature, and they're due to hatch a week tomorrow. Gosh, time goes so fast. A week tomorrow we should have, well, I'm not going to say 27 quail chicks because they won't all be fertile, but hopefully more than last time. So we've got 6 quail chicks at the moment, and we've got 5 Barry's babies, which I'm really excited about. And then on Wednesday, we had the next chicken check-in with Dominic from up north, which was fantastic. Dominic is such a super passionate guy. If you haven't seen that, go and watch it. He's only 12 years old, but he is just filled with passion for chickens, and it's really, really great. I also, what else did I do this week? Oh, the blackberries. So the thornless blackberries that I got in, I finally got them actually into the beds today outside, so I've planted them. And I've been doing more canning as well. So I'm a complete canning novice, amateur, don't know what I'm really doing. But I've been doing more pears, and tomorrow I am doing some beetroot pickling. And then finally, yesterday's video. What was yesterday? Oh yeah, I did some penstemon cuttings, because penstemons are beautiful plants, and the summer is a really, really good time to start taking cuttings from shrubs, because you've got several months worth of growth. Sorry, I think I've got a bit of a cold coming on. You've got several months worth of shrub growth, and it hasn't turned woody yet. So you've got the, you've still got nice sappy semi-ripe cuttings to take. So penstemons root really easily, but there's basically any of your shrubs in your garden, little things like salvias, or bigger things like choisias and forsythias and things like that, you can take semi-ripe cuttings of in the summer. August is ideal because you've still got a couple of months ahead of you for them to root before we get into the colder temperatures of winter. And also for frost tender stuff, so stuff like penstemons, which you might get lost in frosts, you can take cutting them babies now. So yeah, so my week has been not as busy as last, not so many projects on the go, but up and down. And I'm sure this coming week is going to be the same with this canker scare. I'm going to be out watching the hens every second of the day, waiting, looking in there. It smells horrible, so I've been lifting hens up and smelling their noses and opening their beaks and looking inside their gullets to see if there's any sores or lesions. So far, there aren't. So I'm hoping, oh please, 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 because I really don't want to deal with another outbreak of anything nasty, because keeping livestock is wonderful, but with it comes death and infection and illness, and that you're always going to get it at some point. But it is just horrible because it's completely out of your control. And some things you can treat. You can take your dog or a cat to the vet and you can get treatments. Some ailments for chickens you can treat with antibiotics and things. Canker, you can treat it, but if you're in a business where you're selling eggs, the withdrawal for eggs is long. And also, as my friends have been saying today, I don't know anything about canker, but they've been saying you can use meds to get the hens through it, but they just don't do very well, and you're just extending their life by weeks or months, and then the lesions keep coming. So that's bad. So let's see who's in the chat. So Active Bros is here. Chemical 93 Girl, hello. Alana Banana, hi Alana Banana. Go into your mum's garden, start taking cuttings, please. And Alana says, really interesting to know about the relationship between pigeons and canker in chickens. Davey, my chicks will be going and had rescued wood pigeons before they were released. That should be all right, because as far as I know it from, it only gets passed on through secretions, so like saliva, and maybe sexual fluids, and so the wood pigeons are gone, so you should be fine. And Active Bro says, I had botulism with my ducks. I've heard of botulism, but I don't actually know what it is. I've not come across it yet, so it's scary, all these things out there. And you suddenly start realising, when you see, over here in the UK, there's a big thing about badgers and cattle and TB, because basically people say that, lots of farmers say that badgers are infecting the cattle with TB, which I'm sure in some cases might happen. I'm more on the fence, and I also believe that we do actually have a tuberculosis vaccination. But that's by the by. I get worried about my chickens. So if I had a herd of cattle that gets ill, and a chicken isn't worth very much. If you have a pedigree herd of cattle and they get ill with something that can't regularly be treated, or is going to affect their pedigree standard or affect the meat or the milk, scary stuff. It really is scary. And on this little level now where I'm just dealing with poultry, to think of that being scaled upwards to, a herd of cattle, or, a breeding group of goats that you're producing milk from, or a pedigree flock of sheep, and then you get these illnesses. It's scary, and you can give the best husbandry in the world, but it's going to happen at some point, and I guess it's just how you deal with it. And I can be very negative about it. But, you know, this time I'm quite impressed with myself staying on an even keel, but that's because I've only lost one hen so far. If I go down to the coop tomorrow and Monkey or Clumsy or Owlet has a big old lesion in their throat, I ain't going to be a happy boy. Alana says, so she's going to be scrubbing out the aviary just in case. Yeah, I would. And as you say, because there's paving in there, they'll be easily sluiced down. You can use something like Jay's fluid or something, which is really good for just getting rid of bacteria really, really quickly. You can just scrub it out with Jay's fluid. And because I'm assuming there's nothing in there right now, you can really go to town with the disinfectant. And you can just leave it, let it all dry off, and then your chicks will be fine. But yeah, when we had the avian flu outbreak, it was all about wildfowl, so ducks and things bringing across the avian flu. I didn't think about pigeons. So now every time I see a pigeon or a dove land on the fence, I'm not thinking, oh, isn't that a lovely little collared dove? I'm thinking, go away, you canker-ridden thing. Disease, go. So, we're going to have to take it as it comes and see what happens. But I'm really, really hoping that we're all right. But in more positive good news, the budgies are showing interest in breeding. I've been trying to breed these budgies for a ridiculous amount of time. I had no problems when I was a kid, but then I realised I had a flight. So I had 3 pairs in a colony in a flight. These pairs are in separate paired cages, so that's the problem. But somebody suggested to me today, if you've got budgies and they're not breeding, but they are going in and out the nest box and mating, it might just be the setup. So I've lowered all the perches, so all the nest boxes are now above. So I'm hoping that does something. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so life has been hectic, and I've got quite a lot planned for the week ahead. It's August now, and it's almost September, so it's real autumn salad and winter crop sowing time. So I've got tons of spinach coming through. I've got sowing more rocket, sowing more lettuces. My tomatoes, I know a couple of weeks ago I posted a video about the tomatoes and how I just haven't looked after them at all. Well, you know what? After pruning them, they've done really well. So I'm not going to get a bumper crop from them, but they are coming on nicely. I actually ate my first one today, and there is nothing quite like a freshly picked and eaten tomato. You know, you can't buy that in the supermarket. And this is something that I forget when it comes to eggs. You know, I haven't eaten a shop bought egg for years. So I forget how good fresh eggs are as compared to shop bought eggs. So when my customers just go gaga for them, I'm like, oh yeah, they're nice, aren't they? But actually, I think they really, really are. You know, fresh eggs are so different from your shop bought eggs. And that comes with chicken as well. A couple of months ago, I was up at my parents', and I rarely eat chicken now from a shop. I normally eat it from my own birds. And my mum had cooked chicken from a shop. And it was very nice, but it didn't really taste of chicken. It was quite bland. And I'm used to fresh chicken tasting like chicken. Like really, really strong. Because, you know, I go out into the garden. In the morning, I'll colour boy. I'll pluck him. He'll go straight into the freezer or straight into the oven. And so, yeah, it's really different. And I think we're going to definitely get towards more of this fresh food sort of process. I know always the trend is already going there, but I think with this egg scare outbreak, for example, with all these eggs infected that have come over from Denmark, I think again that will showcase the concerns of commercialism when it comes to food, because you know, had that been a backyard flock that had been infected, yes, that would have been bad for both the backyard flock cooper and the customers, but the customer base would have only been, you know, a few dozen, whereas this affected hundreds of thousands of eggs. So, you know, all of those customers, widespread, could have been affected by these contaminated eggs. So I really think in some ways this contaminated egg scare might have actually been a little bit of a bonus for local fresh egg sellers, because you know, suddenly people were thinking about where they're buying their eggs. They don't want to buy eggs that might be infected. And so if somebody down the road is selling fresh eggs straight from the garden, people might suddenly think, oh, you know what? I'm going to avoid those chemical contamination eggs, and I'm going to go and buy fresh that have just come out of a chicken. So I'm really all for fresh food, local food, and happy, healthy chickens if I can get them happy. So I think that's been everything on the cards today, really. The chicks, the thermometer, the blackberries that are now in, everything that's growing, and we're just going to wait and see how this situation with the chickens works out. Alana says, even though I don't eat eggs, I'm really keen for my children to have fresh eggs from my own chickens rather than eat eggs from who knows where. Exactly, because exactly as you say, who knows where. You're buying eggs from the shop. Firstly, let me tell you, free range doesn't mean free range how you think it means, with lovely fully feathered chickens running across the field, laughing, playing, having fun. Because those chickens that I got, the ex-battery chickens that I got in June, they were supposedly free range and they were plucked to hell, and they weren't very, very healthy either. So firstly, buying a shop bought eggs, you don't know where they've been, you don't know the conditions of the chicken, but also fresh eggs taste so much better. So I think your kids are going to love those fresh eggs, and then also they're going to love going and picking up those eggs. You know, when there's nothing quite like going and harvesting an egg that's been freshly laid. So when your kids potter into that little aviary and they find their first egg, that's exciting. That's really exciting. I still remember the first egg that I ever got from my own chicken. She was a little buff Nankin. I was obsessed with Desperate Housewives at the time, so they were all named after characters. It was Gabby, the buff Nankin. She was only a bantam, and she laid an egg like this size. Tiny, tiny, tiny. But I was very excited. And now, obviously, I have loads I say loads. I should be having loads every day. But today, I got a grand total of 3 eggs from 30 hens. Albeit there would have been 4. Somebody, I noticed, laid a shellless egg. And so, actually, there were 4 eggs produced. Only 3 that were pickable or harvestable. But that's not very good. But again, I think it's the weather. Because, you know, it feels like autumn. The sun in the daytime, it's August. It should be hot around the clock, but the daytime is hot. The nighttime is kind of humid and cold, and the hens have gone into molt early, so they don't really know what they're doing, and they don't like temperature changes. And they've been laying really well all year round as well. So I think this is just a natural kind of dip for them. Hi Jeff, welcome to the chat tonight. Let me just see what you said. It's been our best summer ever, having chickens and my children learning how to raise them their own food ethically. It's really, see, that's the whole thing, isn't it? I think it's kind of a family thing. You teach your children where food comes from. And it's scary, you know, I don't have kids, so I don't get that side of things, but it's scary when you see these programs where kids in the inner cities have no clue of where food comes from. You know, a chicken just comes in a plastic wrapped bag from the supermarket. But why would they think any different? Because they've never been told. So I think it's really awesome. And I don't understand all these places that don't allow people to keep chicken, because chickens in their simplest form are such a really good educational use for children, not only for pets, and to teach them about reproductive and keeping animals and having pets, but also where food comes from. Because, you know, kids can very quickly get bored of growing things because, you know, they want instant. So, you know, a lot of kids won't watch that little lettuce seed all the way through from seed to harvest plant. But they will love to go down and pet those chickens and then find the egg and bring the egg back to the house and eat the egg and see that whole life cycle and what happens. And I think that's really, really great. And Jeff's got more winner dots on the way. So I'm a bit jealous of your winner dots. So you're going to have to post pictures. Jeff is part of the Brimwood Farm community group on Facebook, and he posts lots of chicken pictures. So if you're not a part of that group, there's a link in the description below. You can head over and join the group and join in the fun. We mostly talk about chickens. It's mostly chickens. But there is some growing stuff as well, and some flowers, and basically just anything that's kind of homesteady, allotmenting, gardening, flowers or veggies. Because, you know, I like to do both. I've not been growing veggies for that long. I've been growing flowers, ornamental plants for, you know, a couple of decades. Compared with that, veggies is fairly new, so I like both. So, well, it's a quiet evening tonight, so I think I'm going to end the chat early because I've rabbited on for 25 minutes, but I've given you all the ups and the downs of what's going on here. I don't know, what's the date? The 26th of August. Maybe everybody is out having a party, and again, it is obviously a Saturday night. So I'm going to wrap things up if nobody's got any questions, and I'll see you again for another live stream next week, where hopefully we'll have grown our subscribers even more, because I think, let's have a look. We were at 1,000. I think we're at 1,013 coming onto air. We're 1,012, so somebody didn't like me and they disappeared. But props to them, that's fine, I don't mind. So anyway, have a great night. Watch the videos for the coming week. We'll have the Monday Magic as normal. We'll have another great chicken check-in. And exactly, it's their loss. I don't mind. I'd rather have a happy, positive community that engages rather than just people that sit around and don't come and watch anything. So have a great night, and I'll see you again for the live stream next week, but also in the videos this coming week. Bye.